Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to show you how I built an automatic water fill system for my Opal ice maker. I'm going to start off by showing the disassembly of the ice maker so that we can get to the water reservoir where we're going to install a float valve that'll actually automatically cut the water on and off for us to fill the water reservoir. So obviously our first step is going to be to cut the power to the ice machine and drain it out. Next up, there's a couple of screws that we're going to remove from this top panel. There's a Bluetooth chip mounted to the underside of this top panel that we need to disconnect before fully removing the top panel from the ice machine. Next step will be to remove the screws from the metal backplate. The stainless steel panels on the sides and the front of the ice machine, that's actually one piece. And to remove that, we need to remove a couple of screws out of the top of it. Also, the power button on the front of the ice machine, that's part of that same assembly. And we need to disconnect the two wires that are run to that before we can remove this panel completely. So the way this float valve works, when the water fills up, the float floats up and closes off the valve. When the water's low, the valve opens up and allows more water to flow in. So now that we have access to our water reservoir, we can drill a hole for the float valve to be mounted through. And the way this reservoir is, there's two pieces of plastic with insulation sandwiched between them. And what I want to do here with this hole, so I want to drill through the outer plastic and through the insulation, but I do not want to drill through the inner plastic. I don't want the hole too big for the float valve. So you see I have a small hole on the inside, large hole on the outside. Now we can go back with the drill bit that's approximately the size of the threads on the float valve, and we can drill through that inner plastic. Okay, now that we have the float valve mounted up, we just need to run some water to it. And what I'm going to use, I have a 90-degree push-to-fit connector that I'm going to screw on to the float valve to begin with. With the 90-degree fitting on, it's time to run some tubing. And the way I'm doing this, I'm going to run the tubing through the back of the ice machine And since it's going to be coming through the rear metal plate, I want to use a rubber grommet. That'll help protect the tubing from being cut. A little liquid soap and water on the outside of the tubing will help it easily slide through the rubber grommet. Now we can route our tubing through the ice machine. We want to make sure that we don't get up against anything abrasive that could cut the line, or possibly hot that could melt the line. With the ice machine reassembled, the float valve installed, and our water line ran, it's time to test out our setup. On the back of my fridge, there's a line that comes out. It's filtered cold water, and that's the line that I use to supply water to my ice machine. When we cut the water on, it comes in until the float rises enough to cut the float valve off. If you need to adjust the level at which the float stops the water, you can easily do so by bending the L bracket that the float's attached to. If I were to change anything, I believe I'd move the float valve closer to the front of the ice machine. That way it's easier to install the filter that goes into the back bottom of your water reservoir. Also, I think I'd add a valve to the back panel. That way I can disconnect the water right there at the back panel of the ice machine if I ever need to move it. Other than that, everything works perfectly, no issues whatsoever. I hope you enjoyed my video, and thanks for watching.